The state requires us to mark up 50 Republican, 50 Democrat, and 5 Libertarian ballots. So when you mark them up, you have people sit down and actually vote the ballot. And then we put them through the tabulators to verify that what we said we voted and what actually comes out on that tape is exactly the same. And 50 of them so that there's enough different types of markings on them so that there's a way for them to say, okay, that was done. And that tape is sent to the Secretary of State's office, to the elections division, before the election.
And it's important to note that we have to test every single machine, so that if we have, if I have 9 machines that I use on election day and I have 2 spares and I have a high-speed tabulator that I use for advanced processing, we have to run those ballots and test every single one of those machines in time, based on a timeline that the Secretary of State sets out for us. So that's how we can tell the public that we know our machines are accurate and we know that our counts are accurate, because we've done the testing. We've done the testing with all of our cards and with all of our machines. So we know that they're all reporting the same results with the same test deck each time. So that's our baseline for starting.
I did notice this year, we've had a lot more people come out of the woodwork that want to be poll workers. And per the state's recommendation, they do recommend that we do a training with the election workers. So at this point, because I've done my 2 trainings, one was just a couple months ago, people that are coming out now, unless I had the time to sit and go through everything that I went through everyone else training, I'm not going to have them work on a presidential election. I have to have people that have been through my training, that have worked previous elections because they've been through a training before. We're having a lot of people send emails through a company called Power the Polls. And some of these people, I don't know them. If I were to have someone work the polls, I would definitely vet them. But at this point, no, I have 90 election workers. I don't need all 90 on election day. I at least have them for all these other events and advanced tabulation, which I'll be doing the week before the election. That takes care of a lot of our vote by mail prior to election day. But on election day, nope, I have my top people working.
I think there's a lot of attention and excitement that comes with the state elections, and then especially with the presidential. So we're getting a lot of folks now, and I think we'll get them in September and October. And I think a lot of excited and well-intentioned folks don't realize that this process started 6, 8, 10, 12 months ago. And there's a lot of work that goes into that training and that onboarding. In Harwich, I do like a refresher training before every election, primary, local, state. And I make sure that every election worker comes at least once a year, but preferably we're doing 5 this year. And I hope they come to all 5 just so that they have that continuous familiarity, especially as the laws change and the processes change. You just can't get enough training and refreshing. So similar to what, Terry and Ann are saying, I wouldn't be able to bring any new folks on board now for September or November, unless it was, really desperate circumstances that we'd make an exception. But otherwise, we work with our team that we have in place now.
And sometimes things happen, and then you have to have a one-on-one. And I've done that more than I'd like to do ever again.
One thing I think in terms of overall confidence in elections that I like to remind folks is that every part of the process is public and open to observation. They can watch on election day from the moment we open the polling place until the ballots are sealed and transported back to our office. They can see, the ballot box is empty. Nothing has been jammed in there prior to the opening of the polls. The tabulator reads 0. No ballots have been cast. And that matches the fact that the box itself is empty. And the results at the end of the night match the number of ballots we've pulled out of that box. And so I think there's those safe checks that are there, in print and available for observation. And I encourage folks to observe those things. The testing process that we talked about, equipment testing is open to the public. Folks are welcome to come and see. And, we have folks come at that point. That's when I've been asked a lot of questions about the machines, like how do they count the ballots? Are they connected to the internet? They're not. How do we know that, these machines are accurate and secure? And so that's a great opportunity. We're showing you how we test it. You're seeing how the machine works. You're seeing how the results are read in kind of a low stakes situation. This isn't the election result. This is the test session. But you can ask the questions, and it's a great time to have a more one-on-one conversation with folks about the kind of intricacies of how the machines work and how the results come to be at the end of the night.
I think the other important thing for people to remember is that at larger elections like the presidential, the numbers will change. The results that at the end of the night, they're preliminary. They're not final numbers. These larger elections, there's overseas ballots, there's military ballots, there's provisional ballots, there's different types of ballots that we have to research after the polls close. And those numbers, whether we can count those ballots or not for various reasons, those will change the end number that is reported to the state. So there, we all hear a lot about, the numbers changed, something flipped, it must be the machine, or it must be, something nefarious. Most, 10 times out of 10, it is a valid ballot that either wasn't received before the polls closed for whatever reason, whether it be overseas, military, or provisional that we couldn't determine on election day, whether that was a ballot or vote that we could count for a voter. And we have certain timeframes, like everything else set within state law, that we do research and we do add those. So on the drop dead date, when, the results are reported, everything is included. So when people are concerned about the number changing from what they see posted at the end of the night on election night, as opposed to what they see posted and reported to the state and everywhere else, that there are reasons for that, and it's all within the law, and it's just to make sure that every ballot counts.